I'm Elizabeth Vincentelli, and I write for the New York Times and the Washington Post.
And I'm Peter Marks, newly liberated citizen of the world. Welcome to another edition of Marks and Vincentelli, spreading the good word about theater to all the people.
You know, every time our listeners think they're finally rid of us, like we just come back. It's like a zombie movie where we're just unstoppable. Every time we're left for dead, suddenly like the corpse is twitching and there's life. There's life again. So as usual, because, you know, I'm going to say we've been the best platform from which to launch engineers and producers, because we lost another one who went on to greener pasture. To our great chagrin, our great producer, Erica Wong, was in such high demand that we had to send her off with our gratitude and best wishes. But the good news is we're now welcoming Adam Gold, who's all the way out in Sydney, Australia, which is the wonders of technology is allowing us to do that.
Yeah, no, it's great. We're thrilled to be working with Adam. We thank him greatly for picking up the ball here and running it with us as we gear up for more reports and more talk about theater everywhere. As many of you know, I've had a change in status myself. Which is going to require, actually now at this juncture, my tweaking a little bit how I talk about theater. Most of you know that I was the longtime theater critic of the Washington Post, 21 years worth, and I've hung up my critic's hat. I'm still doing some writing, but I'm determined to build some other muscles other than journalistic muscles. And one thing that I've been asked to do, I'm not quite comfortable discussing yet because the governing organization that controls what I'm about to be doing hasn't announced it officially, if that makes any sense. So I'm just letting you all know that I will have to be a little more circumspect about offering anything like a quote unquote review of anything I see. And certainly that means Broadway.
Well, I mean, but obviously there's many ways to cover theater, and we've been kind of going more towards in a kind of interview format, which delights both of us. It's been really rewarding, and I don't think that's going to be an issue for you, right?
No, absolutely. No. It's really about expressing an opinion. I really can't do that publicly. And you're right. What we've been trying to do much more is explore other people's views of theater than our own. We've been sort of the questioners, and that's been really a wonderful change. When we did Three on the Aisle back at the beginning when we had Terry with us, the late Terry Teachout, it really was sort of conceived as a three-critic roundtable. And now it's much more become, this platform has become much more about talking to the people who make theater in all its forms. And we follow along and try to pick out the people who are, really compelling and can really expand the knowledge base of our listeners.
Right, because like all the media, we're abandoning criticism. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right.
Reviews don't track. No, but no, there's still absolutely a space for that. But I think there's a lot of, because the landscape and the theater coverage landscape has shrunk, as it's so much smaller. The footprint is so much smaller. I think we can provide like a different perspective by talking to people who make it, because there's very few places left for them to talk about what they do. And I feel that's like it's really a huge crisis. I mean, it's clearly
it's a huge problem.
A lot to talk about, and
totally. We do still find our way into important publications, but it's not a growth industry by any means. And I should just say, you'll definitely not be hearing me say anything that could be used in a quote ad. And I'm talking directly to you, Rick Miramontes, out there. Close close followers of the theater world will know that name, but maybe not the reason I point him out. But I will at some point reveal more about why I
I
call him out on that
I don't
issue.
I don't even know what you're talking about. So
No,
so
yeah,
I
there was
can
an
leave you to
incident.
your
There was an incident years ago where something I said offhand made its way onto television in a commercial that ran constantly, and it traumatized me for life, basically.
Well, my most popular pull quote ever that ended up on buses here and in London, apparently, was something I think I wrote in a tweet and I was totally tossed off. Like it was not intended at all.
Right. Well, that's the thing.
Oh,
That was
anyway.
the social media sort of compels you to compress your feeling, to the point where it's really becomes the a marketing phrase often. I will just basically say that the phrase that bedevils me always is I said in an email. I didn't even say it in a tweet.
Oh my God.
I said to I said to Rick, I want to talk about nothing but Doll's House Part 2 for the rest of my life, and I was being facetious.
Oh, okay. I'm
And
sorry, but of all shows to pick,
yeah,
it was The Doll's House Part 2,
well,
which was so not good.
well, I disagree. Wait, I can't say that now. I'm sorry. I'm not.
Okay.
Well, that's in the past.
I'm
But
baiting
wait a
you.
minute.
I'm
But I
baiting
just
you.
want to say that the reason I said it was because he was inviting me to moderate a panel with the members of the cast of A Doll's House Part 2, and I was facetiously saying that. Anyway, boy,
Okay.
we're going.
Okay, we're already on a tangent.
Yeah,
We've barely started and we're already on a tangent.
indeed,
Okay.
indeed.
So if we think of this as a kind of like new era, like it's like another Alien reboot that we're engaged, minus the killer intergalactic, critters. Although I don't know anything about you. You might be. So can you tell us a little bit about what you've been up to since the Tonys, which can I just say also, this was the first time in years that I did not watch the Tonys because I was out camping and kayaking with zero reception. So
Yeah.
I watched them afterwards, but I did not. I was completely out of that loop. I was blissfully under a tent and very, very happy about it.
That's lovely. As a city denizen, the idea of camping is tantamount to me to having periodontal surgery, which I also just had. And actually, when you sent pictures of your camping, it looked like you were in like someone's backyard in Metuchen, New Jersey. So I didn't really think you were like, roughing it particularly, but maybe it was much more rugged than I was led to
I
believe.
was not roughing it, but I was also really camping, and it was not in a backyard. But it definitely was not roughing it. You know what? I had never put up a tent on my own before, but what I was really proud. He's just rolling his eyes. What I was most proud of is that I managed to put it back fold it and put it back in the bag in 5 minutes in one try. And anybody who's tried that with a tent will know that this is no small feat for someone who's never done it before. So enough about camping.
I know there's going to be a huge population of pro camping people who are going to,
the only
descend
camping
now
we
on me.
can talk about on this show is the one in the Jellicle Ball, which we're going to get to.
Oh, okay.
This is
Well,
the
there
only
you go.
acceptable camp. The only acceptable camp on this show is the one in Cat's, the Jellicle Ball.
That's
which
very
I think
funny.
we can say that we're both obsessed with, right?
I can't say anything about how I feel
that's-
about it.
Okay, all right,
But
fine.
one thing I do want to say quickly is give a shout out to my successor at the Post.
Right, yes.
Naveen Kumar is going to be the new theater critic at the Washington Post. He starts the job in August. Naveen, who Elizabeth knows, he's a frequent occupant of a seat on press nights in New York. He's written a lot for the Times, the Post, and other publications, and frankly, I'm not only thrilled that he's been picked, but also that the fact that the Post filled my job. That was not always certain when on the day I departed, and because it's such an extremely challenging time for newspaper criticism and criticism in general. um, it was very, very reassuring that the Post hired a full-time theater critic. That was an important statement, and I dare say possibly the only full-time critic's job in the country that's being filled for theater this year. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, that sounds right. Okay, but I want to know what you. Okay, you've been up to some shenanigans.
Yes,
That I
indeed.
couldn't watch because I was at camping.
Hmm.
Oh no, I had to do an interview that night. Okay, so you got to tell us because I
Okay.
think now we can say that you were the only former critic with a headshot. Can we say that you have a headshot?
Yeah, I do. I did have, taken by Joan Marcus,
Oh,
who
whoa.
was, yeah.
Okay.
So it was the great Tony honored photographer, wasn't she? Did she get a Tony? I can't remember. I know that
She's
Sarah did, but anyway,
Sarah Crowley.
she's a great theater photographer, and yeah, she did. I think they gave her a Tony several years ago. But anyway, so what I've been doing is I have been doing some acting, or at least starting to try to do some acting. And the first thing I've been doing is some readings with a group called Theater of War, which is a fabulous organization that takes classic plays, most of them Greek drama, but also more contemporary or near contemporary drama, and uses many very well known actors and presents them geared towards certain social issues for selected audiences. And usually those are audiences that have an interest in the particular subject they're highlighting. And I have been playing a role in one of their productions, Enemy of the they've done a version of Enemy of the People, not the Broadway version that just closed, but their own. And often it's being worked around the issue of either healthcare or climate change. And they did it. The last production they did was in Times Square in the outdoors, amazing, before thousands of people. We did it with a cast that included Bill Murray and Taylor Schilling and J.O. Sanders and Peter Francis James and Zach Grenier and Katie Irby. So it was an amazing cast. And Jumaane Williams, the public advocate for New York, too. And we did it. And the idea is that the cast leaves the stage after the reading, and the audience just interacts with a moderator about what resonated in the play for them.
Okay, so how did you feel before? Like, did you have jitters? Because I
None.
cannot. Really?
None. Well, first of all, you're reading from the script, so it's not a memorization game at this point for me. It was, and also I've done so much moderating, and I have a feeling that the podcast also is part of that public speaking experience. But no, I don't have butterflies. I don't find it. I don't find that. And part of the joy of acting for me, or at least to start acting, is to relax, is the relaxation into the experience. It's not the opposite, is not terror for me. And so far now, I have a feeling if I had to spend 90 minutes on a stage by myself singing the works of Jacques Brel, I mean, I would go out of my mind with terror. You know what I mean?
And so would the audience.
Yes, thank you. That's so sweet of you. But no, but I find that, if you're if it's something within, the margins of your wheelhouse, it isn't scary to me.
Okay.
In fact, I love it.
And then afterwards, like, were you on such a high that you could not sleep for hours? Or
yes, it was quite exhilarating. And I was a supporting character. I played Dr. Stockman's father-in-law, Morton Keel, who's the tannery owner who pollutes the river.
Of course you were.
That Dr. Stockman is trying to warn the town about. And so the exhilaration was so much part of of doing it that I found that it wasn't quite the same as when I was in high school doing, West Side Story over 4 nights. Yes, I played Bernardo. I think I've told you this. It was idiotic.
But it doesn't get old.
I was the whitest. It was the whitest high school in the world. So, I qualified as, slightly ethnic. But anyway, yeah. No, I wasn't. I didn't have that, I wasn't like so caught up in the experience that I had to come down from it. It was just really fun to do.
Okay, and did you get, how did you take the direction?
Well, that's the other interesting. So the great part of this experience, Elizabeth, is we sit on the outside watching these actors and these directors share an experience, become a community, a family for a given amount of time, and they're all in it together. Whatever they think of each other, you never know what kind of attitudes or personalities clash or mesh. I always felt a desire to be part of that. What's going on in the rehearsal room, feeling like you're contributing to something bigger than yourself. We have a very solitary pursuit in the writing field. We sit at a laptop. This is the opposite. You've got to express yourself in a room. And so that was the real joy for me. That was the real pleasure, was being part of it. And being, accepted, actually, in a room where they could very easily have thought of me as, not one of them.
Were there any people in that room that you had trash in print before?
Well, these are really good questions. And,
I know I'm grilling you. This is
yeah, no. There were people in that room for whom I had written less than favorable notices. And they either, many of them said they don't read reviews.
Oh, I
Right.
I never believe them, by the way, when they say that.
Many of them say that. One person in particular in the room, I had done a review of a play he had written. It was very close to his heart, and he had done it in D.C. It was premiered in D.C., and I wrote a less than favorable review of it. I not harsh, but I was, I explained the difficulties, and we had, we did not discuss, we didn't discuss breakdown, cry, and hug over it, but I was conscious of his feelings, and I was available in case he wanted to say something to me about it. But he was extremely decent.
Oh,
decent.
no, decent.
No, not distant. He was decent. No.
Okay.
No, I don't, I'd have to, I found also there was a point at which one of the actors said to me, do you feel bad when you write a bad review, like a negative review? And I said, of course I do. I said, of course I feel, for the people involved. It might be fun to write. It's fun to compose something that feels like you're doing justice to your feelings for a show, but it's not fun to know that people are going to be hurt or they're going to have bad feelings afterwards. And she said to me, the actress said to me, I'm so happy to hear you say that. It meant something to this person that I'm not a automaton that just spews opinions.
Yeah, I don't think anybody enjoys writing negative reviews. That's like the biggest myth, that it's something enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like, this is not Ratatouille, like nobody
Right.
enjoys this.
I think John Simon did, but
he did. He did. Like, I would say that probably would be the one person that I know who really did enjoy it. I could almost, I'm sure he was petting like a white cat, like some James Bond villain,
right.
When he was writing these reviews.
I will tell you also, Elizabeth, that I'm preparing a monologue for auditions.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scoff, but I just did.
That's
I couldn't
okay.
help myself.
Listen, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who are going to laugh, but yes, I'm preparing a monologue. I'm working with a great New York director who also coaches, and
whose name rhymes with Austin Pendleton.
No, not Austin Pendleton. But is this is your technique for squeezing information out? I can tell. But no, and we've met once, so we're meeting again, and I'm preparing this. I'm not even going to tell you what the audition piece is, because part of the thing is you don't want other people to discover the monologue you're working with, because you want to be. Mm-hmm. So that'll be so I'll complete probably some training, some initial coaching, and then I'm gonna audition.
Wow.
Yup.
What kind of roles are you going for? Are you going
Oh,
for?
please.
Are you going to be against? Oh my God, who are you going to be against? Are you going to be against? What's? I'm forgetting his name. Oh, anyway, I'll
Yeah,
come back to
yeah.
it because
Watch it.
there's one
Watch who
particular
you
actor that I'm
tell.
like, it's going to be between you and him. Oh my God. Oh yeah, it's going to be it's going to be like, are you going for all the Reed Bernie parts? That's what you're going for, right? It's like, oh my God, it's Reed Bernie and Peter Marks again. Like they're always against each other.
Reed Bernie. I'm not a Reed Bernie type.
You
Reed
are a
Bernie
Reed Bernie
plays like
type.
waspy, with like internalized angry men. You know what I mean? He'll hate me for having categorized him, but
Well,
I don't think that's my I don't think he's my
I just mean
competition.
kind of physically. No,
Oh wow,
no.
well he's very thin, so I'm thrilled at this. I love your thank you.
I'm
He's
sorry.
probably weighs
I
40 pounds less than I do, so
well,
I
I
thought
don't
you were
know.
going to say like Richard Kind,
Oh, no, 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 no. You're not. You're not going.
I don't know.
Oh my
I don't know.
God.
This is insane. It's an insane
This is
thing I'm
insane.
doing.
This conversation is like completely insane. Okay. Okay. We need to go back. Okay. I have more questions for you, but like, I feel like we need to milk this as your career, your
Oh, right.
thespian career
I see.
progresses.
Well, right. I thank you.
Okay. And then you had like another big thing. This is like turning into my interviewing you, but this is really fun. You had your first piece in the New York Times, first
Right.
piece in how long? Like 20 plus years, right?
21 years.
Right.
21
So you
years.
were
Yeah.
just
I
like,
just
yeah,
had it.
they couldn't
It's
shake you in your back.
Well, all right. So yes, that's why it's confusing, to people. I
Right.
think when you start, multitasking your life, and not following a path that can sort of like define you, as people get very confused and they really want more clarity. They don't want to have to think of you in multi dimensions. So I don't know how to explain what I'm doing. And sometimes when people ask, what are you doing? I tell them one thing or another thing, and I don't like reveal every aspect of what I'm doing. But yes, I had pitched a story to the New York Times, about, and this went back a while. I've known about the story and I've wanted to do it for a long time. So there were five young women who worked together at the Public Theater in the about 10 years ago. They all were there and they had interesting jobs, and they all had aspirations to do other things, and they bonded with each other and formed a group that they secretly called Women and Ambition. And that it was like almost like a cheeky title, because they thought, because there's still something, and you have to guide me a little on this too, Elizabeth. They felt that there was still something a little, it was almost like a dirty word to say a woman was ambitious.
Well,
They felt.
then you're like Sheryl Sandberg, who's, like one of those like corporate, I don't know. That's when I hear that, I hear like, I'm thinking one of those linen ladies.
Oh,
That
Lena,
I,
yeah.
that's when I hear that, that's who comes to mind. But yeah, I don't know. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with ambition.
So what made it an interesting story for me was that these five women, from their jobs, all working, in various functions for Oscar Eustace, are now all women with power in the field. Not three of them, not four of them, all five of them have moved on to these really interesting jobs. Maria Goyanis is the artistic director of Woolly Mammoth Theater. Lear de Bessonet is who runs Encores, which is sending shows, repeatedly to Broadway, including this summer, Once Upon a Mattress. Mayen Wang is producing at the Perlman Performing Arts Center in Lower Manhattan. She's sort of the second in command, or one of the second in commands, to Bill Rausch, which is where Cats is playing. The others are Stephanie Ibarra, who who became the artistic director of Baltimore Center Stage and is now at the Mellon Foundation, sort of, one of the people overseeing grants to theaters. A really important job. And the fifth is Shanta Thake, who is the artistic producing. I can't remember. I'd have to look at my story.
She's some big mucky muck at Lincoln
Yeah,
Center.
at Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts, which is the umbrella organization that runs the whole campus, the whole Lincoln Center campus. She's artistic director. I think that's her title. But so I was fascinated by the trajectory and how they had come together as a group, had supported each other, and what was the dynamics? What was the values they shared? What was it that brought them together, made them feel like allies, and they could use that experience together to become leaders in the field.
Reading the piece, like one thing struck me is that you're talking about the values they share, and there was actually very little that they said about their aesthetic values. Reading that piece, I
Right.
have very little idea about what kind of theater specifically they like or want to make. It was all like a lot of words about like the people and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, what kind of theater are you? Who do you like? What kind of directors do you like? Who do you want to do? And that to me is a huge blind spot in terms of picking artistic directors right now. Like it feels like it's not even the second most important, criteria. It's like the third or fourth or fifth if it comes up. And that's weird to me.
I was not. So that's, that you can blame me for. I was not particularly interested in finding out, what the charting of each of their aesthetic journeys would be like. First of all, I thought it would become too cumbersome for an article about 5 people.
Yes.
I wanted to find the commonalities in terms of what were the challenges to assuming leadership positions, as opposed to finding out what their choices would be. And I thought that there were some interesting connections that they all made, and in some ways, that would be an interesting second piece to do, maybe to follow each of them separately and figure out those questions. But I think that that part of where they are and what's interesting for them right now, and for so many people who are leading companies, is understanding what the values that they have. And I think that Maria may have alluded to this in the piece, and how much you have to let go of a particularly strong central vision and sort of understand that's not necessarily what an artistic director can do anymore. That's really not the role. The role is to sort of, it's a much broader understanding of what audiences are attracted to, with really a strong sense of the commercial aspect, I think, even in nonprofits.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I think the days of being able to do whatever you want without regard for the box office at nonprofit, those days are gone. Even you have to take that into account, which is a good thing.
Right.
And I think it's a really interesting, for instance, that they are doing it with commercial. Well, I mean, commercial in the sense of box office success, like the PAC, the Perelman Performing Arts Center, has a big hit right now with the show that you can't say what you think about, but I will. Cat's Strategical Ball.
Right.
Which I came out of that show. By the way, I love that thing that you can't talk about this stuff anymore, because now I can just go on and you can't say anything.
I know. Exactly. You should take advantage of it.
I am taking advantage right now by saying that this show, I love that show so much. I was obsessed, like, for 3 days. Okay, I went back to re-listening to Cast, the original Cast album, which I had not listened to in ages. And I was like, God, this is great. And you know what's great about this show? Okay, so the idea behind the show is that they're doing Cats in a way that's both very faithful, because they don't really mess with the score at all. They add a few club beats, but for the most part, it's the score, as we all know it. But they also completely reconfigure. Like, they're not wearing Cats outfits. It takes place at a ballroom competition that, you listeners may know mostly from the documentary Paris is Burning, and from the TV show Pose, which are in the same milieu. So the genius idea is to set Cats as a ballroom competition, and it works so well with the lyrics and the whole premise of the show that it's just freaky to me how well it works. It's not like they're like just plastering this concept and kind of, they're not trying to force like a round peg into a square hole. It's like it fits so insanely well, and it's so energetic. I got out. I was freaking out. By how much. So all this to say that something that on paper a few months ago you would have been like, oh my God, like this is crazy, works so well. And then at Encores, we have Once Upon a Mattress, which was a big hit at Encores. Their Titanic also did really well. That one's not going to go to Broadway because it's so huge. There's no way they could do it. But the fact that they're bringing out this crowd pleaser, and it is Once Upon a Mattress with Sutton Foster is a total textbook, the epitome of a crowd pleaser. It's just pure froth. There's nothing else to it. And I love that they're embracing that full on and gleefully. Like, yeah, we can have a big hit that is really smart, and really the level of craft in both of these shows is very high. I was really impressed by that. So you can't say anything, so I'm going to stop.
Well, I can say, well, one thing I can say is actually that Andrew Lloyd Webber has gone to see the Ballroom Cats, and had originally, I think, I don't know that he originally had taken it very seriously. And, when I think he heard about the reception that it received, he got interested. So we'll have to see what happens with that. I would also say that, for example, with Shanta Thake, who had been at the Public for many years, she ran Joe's Pub at the Public. And when she got to Lincoln Center, I mean, one of her charges, it seems, was to broaden the programming so that it felt like it really was for all of New York. And that's what she's done, certainly with the summer programming. Things like the NYC Ska Orchestra, she's bringing.
By the way, I cannot believe that in your article you mentioned hipper thing and the NYC Ska Orchestra. This is the first time in 40 years that the words hip and ska were in the same sentence. It is not possible. Peter, I've got to tell you, ska is not hip. That's it. I've said my piece.
I think it's
You
hip.
think ska is hip? Okay. I'm gonna let this hang.
Thank you. I appreciate your embittered commentary.
Okay. All right. But by the way, that apparently there's a jukebox musical based on, I think it's the Madness songbook. Anyway,
Really?
There's in England,
I'm
there's a
not
jukebox
surprised.
on either Madness or The Special, like one of those ska bands, and they did a jukebox musical, which I would actually like to see. But anyway.
All right. So I got to turn the tables here just in the time we have left.
Yes.
Elizabeth, because we've talked a lot about what I'm doing, but you've been, writing your ass off as always. Yeah. And you recently wrote a piece for the Washington Post that really, I think, got a lot of people's attention and really was fun. And it was something you noticed about what's going on in the theater this season or this past season. And it has to do with, with salty discharges that occur from the eyes.
This was eventually cut, but my pitch for that was, you think there's a lot of water because there's been a lot of rain scenes also on stage this season. Mm-hmm. Several shows using like pouring rain on stage. And I was like, this is nothing compared to the waterworks in the audience. People have been crying at shows and I would include myself in that, by the way. I teared up at several times. And in fact, when I went back to Sufs after writing the piece, I cried so much. I cried so much at Sufs.
So that was what your piece is about.
Yes.
It's about crying in the theater.
Crying.
So so you're telling me you cried several times yourself this season. Here's the question.
Okay.
Does the volume of tears correlate to the favorable reception that you grant the show given that? In other words, the more you cry, is it the better the review?
No, no. I, although if I cry a lot, I tend to give a positive review, even if I have little quibbles, because I think that getting an emotional reaction is a good thing, And one of the things I pointed out in the show is that there's no equivalent. Like, for instance, when you say that a show or a movie is a tearjerker, it's usually not meant in a good way. It
Right.
means it implies something manipulative, that it's kind of aiming for the base. And there's no equivalent in comedy. Like, if you think about it, there's no equivalent of implying that a comedy is manipulative, because trying to make people laugh is a good thing.
Right.
Trying to make people cry is not seen
Right.
as a good thing.
Right.
I would argue that I think it is a good thing.
But there are shows where people laugh reflexively. They're not laughing,
Yes.
in those genuine belly laughs. They just sort of they feel like they're supposed to laugh.
Yes,
So they fill the space.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, in the case of those, I can tell you. So I cried at Water for Elephants.
One.
People who have seen it know that it's the scene when the horse dies.
Okay, horse dying.
Which, but for the record, War Horse is my single teariest show ever.
War Horse.
War Horse,
You were a mess.
I was a mess, but
okay.
I mean, it's not even ugly crying. It was beyond that. It
I
was
understand.
just like a catastrophe.
You had to be carried out of the theater.
I was.
So wait, so Water for Elephants, you cried. Suffs, you cried. Where else did you cry?
I teared up. It was not a huge, big, ugly cry, but I teared up at Stay Gold in The Outsiders.
Okay.
Which was a little reflexive, I have to say, but I did tear up.
Yes.
And I also cried at. I'm told that I cried at. I've already mentioned Suffs. The Peanut Gallery here.
Did you cry at Illinois?
No, I was so annoyed by Illinois. That I didn't cry at all.
Okay.
I was just that show really annoyed me.
Merrily We Roll Along, did you cry at that?
Not really. I teared up. I felt like, the little, scratch at the back of the throat, but I didn't go into crying. I teared up at The Notebook, but not at, like, a lot of people at The Notebook cry at the rain scene. In fact, when I saw it, it was this really super loud crying, like the sobs during the rain scene, where I had honestly never heard that at the theater. It was not like this sniffling. It was like, like bawling.
All right. So what's your analysis? What is going on? Do you think people are just being more performative?
Well, I think partly this is that, yes. But I also think that there was a crop of shows that really fully embraced kind of irony-free feels.
I see.
They really went for it, and I like that. It was completely devoid of any ironic distance. It was not.
Interesting.
It was just really like, oh, The Notebook. Oh yeah, we're gonna give you the big emotions. And it's really, I like the fact that they were really bold in going, the Stay Gold, in the Outsiders. It's really this very poignant, and it's meant to make you emotional, and it works. And why is that a bad thing?
That's interesting. I also think it's interesting. It's all musicals. It's not plays that are eliciting tears.
Yes. That is a very good point. I'm trying to think of a play where, like Mary Jane, I would say, I got teary when I saw it off Broadway. And even though I liked this Broadway version with Rachel McAdams, I did not get teary. There's something about the play that actually does not play on the emotions the way some of the others do. There's that, and it's not a distance to it. It's a very, emotional story, but it did not, and I did not hear people cry there. It's completely unscientific observation.
Interesting.
But
it's very interesting. It'd be fun to explore this question with a director, how much they think about, there is it, is it a reflection of their own emotion, the kind of emotion they're trying to pull out of their actors and out of the performance? Is it all tuned to
Do,
their own
do
desire
you
for?
cry? Do you cry at shows?
Of
Or
course I do.
okay, which one? When was the
I
last time?
cry
Did
at
you cry this season?
commercials.
Okay, well,
I cry very easily. I
uh,
seriously. I'm very
okay.
I tear up all the time.
Okay, no,
And
but at the
sometimes
theater, did you cry this season at the theater?
I did, and I'm not going to tell you which shows
Oh
because
my God.
again, but
That
what I will
okay.
say is that it's not always the sometimes I cry at the originality, at the artistry, the
Yes.
sense of inspiration, the sense of surprise at what they're able to put on the stage. Sorry, I got a little
Classic.
excited.
Classic Marx.
I know.
Oh,
Uh,
we need to leave
but
that in because this is like the enthusiasm speaking.
exactly. But that's when I get, really verklempt.
Oh,
It's
oh,
when
that
it's
happens to me
it's
too. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so it's like I don't know if that means you're into it or you're outside of it, and you're watching the, you know what I mean? It's like
You,
it's a both thing,
you know the end of chorus line when they do the kick line at the end of a
Yes,
chorus line, that makes me
right.
cry. And it's not
Of
sad.
course.
It's
Yes.
just like it's so
Perfect.
perfect. It's so
Perfect
perfect,
example.
but it's just like, oh, it's peak. Peak
Yeah.
peak musical. Yeah, no, I'll cry if it's like like unusually like really a good kick line. You know that shtick that they do where all the dancers are like like in a line
Right.
and coming towards the audience. I
Right.
mean, they do it all the time, and every
Yeah,
time
that
I'm like,
was
oh my God, this
yeah.
is so great.
Michael Bennett was a master at figuring out how to make wrenching moments on the stage,
Yeah, it
make use
doesn't have
of.
to be something sad, like
Hmm.
or that is marked as sad. It can be
Right.
it can be a great funny song. I kind of teared up if I remember correctly. In fact, when Sutton Foster was doing Shy in which
Hmm.
is by no stretch of it's one of the funniest numbers, and it's really completely engineered to make you laugh.
Hmm.
And she really goes for it. And I was so happy. And I was like, this is so great. I'm seeing someone at the peak of her talent doing what she's meant to do. It was kind of ridiculous, but I was very happy. But yeah, the
Yeah, I
chorus
haven't
line,
seen.
kick line is
Yeah, I
just,
haven't seen.
mm.
Yeah, I agree.
And I teared
Well,
up also at the Jellicle Ball.
you're you're a crybaby. Who
Yeah,
knew it?
I know.
Elizabeth.
I know. I know.
Well, anyway, listen. It's so we're what I'm feeling here is it's reminding me how much fun I have talking to you about this stuff, and it's like I missed it, even though like the 3 or 4 weeks we sort of like had
Okay.
to we're making up for here.
We're back and we have a great idea for our next guest. I cannot wait. It's
Yeah,
going to
me
be
too.
so much fun.
Indeed.
We're going to try to take that ASAP because we have to unleash this on the well, I was going to say the unsuspecting world, but if you listen to this, you're suspecting. So,
All right, so we've given you Elizabeth's tears and my ridiculous ambitions in one episode. We'll have to figure out a way to top this, but in any case, it's great to be back in the saddle with you, Elizabeth.
oh, likewise. Yeah, I can't wait. We're going to do more until we lose Adam to greener pastures again.
No,
we made him sign a contract in blood.
I know, 10 years. I mean,
10
it's
years.
amazing.
10 years.
It's amazing.
He signed up for 10 years.
Yeah. No, it's yeah. We own him.
He doesn't know that yet. I don't think he's
Yeah.
read the email where we had it.
Yeah. He's gesturing at us in all kinds of panicky ways, but that's okay. That's
Okay.
That's par for the course here. Well, listen, so this is it for now. Our thanks, of course, to Adam for joining us, and please subscribe to the podcast at marksvincentelli.substack.com.
And follow us on social media. Peter's on Facebook and Threads. I'm on X and Threads under our own names because we're honest that way. And bye for now.